107, the point. Come on, hit it. Do it. You know you want to.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblue, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Good to have you with us here on Sports Talk. Phil Kornblue, Chris Bergen, Pat Daniel, all together here on the Sports Talk Media Network across the state, streaming on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. Glad to have you with us, however you are connected to us. Our South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number into Sports Talk, 888-898-2525, 888-898-2525. And, of course, we have got a ton to cover for you here tonight on Sports Talk, including USC baseball coach Mark Kingston live with us tonight at 7:04. We'll hear from USC football coach Shane Beamer coming up after the 6:30 break. Gamecocks had a major scrimmage on Saturday, and now they have finally turned the corner that last week of spring practice, and they're working hard this week. I mean, they practiced this morning. They'll practice again tomorrow. They'll be off Wednesday, practice Thursday, Friday, and then play the game on Saturday. Remember, now they've increased the attendance for the game to 15,000. Also, USC announced today it's increasing the attendance at Founders Park, beginning with Thursday night's game against number 1 Arkansas. They're going up to about, 3,300, I think it is. Speaking of Gamecock baseball, what a weekend for the Gamecocks, because, Bertie, I don't know about you, but, I mean, 7th inning on Saturday after they had the rain out on Friday, 7th inning, top of the 7th in Baton Rouge after losing on Thursday night, kind of being handled by LSU. They go to the top of the 7th in the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday. They're down 2-0. And they've done nothing offensively against LSU pitching to that point. And then, bam, 4 hits, 4 runs. They win that game, and then they just demolish LSU in the second game. What a turnaround in the matter of just one half of an inning, and then it carried over to that nightcap.
Phil, we may look back at the end of this season, and that may be the most important half inning that Carolina baseball plays all this season, because if they don't come back and win that game, they obviously lose the series. They've got no momentum going into the second half of the doubleheader on Saturday. May have gotten swept, and then you really start to worry about yourself coming back home against an Arkansas team that can score runs in bunches. And looking at what is ahead of them in the schedule with both the Mississippi teams on the way as well, plus Tennessee a little bit later on this season. Not saying that that's going to vault them into, top 5 status in terms of national seeding. But if they don't come back and win that game in game 2, boy, this whole season may have turned around. That's it. And I'll be curious to get Coach Kingston's take on that when he joins us in the second hour of the program. But I think that may be to date the most important half inning of baseball for the Gamecocks this season.
Yeah, I think so. I put that right up there with the comeback against Florida at home in game 1 of that series when they called up, I think it was in the bottom of the 9th, and then they went extras and ended up winning. But, yeah, that's an excellent point about that being such an important inning for South Carolina, getting it done and then just taking LSU apart. Will Sanders was great on the mound in that second game on Saturday. So great weekend for South Carolina. They go 2-1. They win at LSU for the first time since 2013. And anytime you can win at LSU, I don't care of the shape of the LSU baseball program, Bergie, anytime you can win at Alex Box Stadium, that's quite an accomplishment because, I mean, they just don't lose very much at home.
Having been there and seen Coastal go through them in the Super Regionals en route to a national championship back in 2016, I can tell you that is one of the most intimidating places to play in all of college baseball. And you're right, regardless of the status of the current LSU team, and let's face it, this is not your typical LSU team, and I'd be curious to get a sense as to what the Tigers fans are feeling about Paul Maneri right now, because they are not where they expect that program to be. You want to talk about expectations in our state with the Gamecocks and Tigers and even the Chanticleers to some degree. we can't touch anything that the LSU fans expect out of that baseball program. But nonetheless, to be able to go in there and take 2 out of 3 from them is a major accomplishment. And for Mark Kingston and this team, that this has become their norm, hasn't it, Phil? Over the last couple of weeks, they lose the Friday night game, or in this regard, the Thursday night game, and then they come back and play tremendous baseball, whether it be on Saturday or Sunday, or in this case, both games on Saturday. They have done this time and time again, where they have dropped game one, but they refuse to lose the series. And this team, you start thinking on down the road, if they get into a regional, which it looks like they're in pretty good shape to do so, this is a team, even if they were to drop game one and drop into a loser's bracket, you feel like with their back half of their starting rotation and what their bats can do, they're certainly not going to be out of any game or series because of how well they have handled things the last month in Saturday and Sunday type ball games.
Yeah, the one thing they have to be worried about to some degree, and we'll talk to Kingston about this, is their hitters are being overpowered by the opponent's number one pitcher in the first game of the series. And in Vanderbilt's case, of course, they were overpowered by 2 first-round draft picks, maybe the top 2 picks in the draft. I mean, that's no shame losing to those 2 guys. But the other series, even though they've won the series, they've had to battle from behind. And that Friday night or Thursday night, as the case was this past week, that Thursday night pitcher, that first pitcher they're seeing from the opponent's just been too good. They've just quieted the bats. We'll ask Mark Kingston about that when he joins us a little bit after 7. And we wrapped up the RBC Heritage over the weekend. And Stuart Sink was just phenomenal. What can you say about him? Once he got control of the tournament in round 2 with that 63 on Friday, he never relinquished his grip, and he wins there for the 3rd time. It was basically, you talk about a good walk. It wasn't spoiled. It was a good walk for him around Harbortown on Sunday. So he wins by 4 over Harold Varner III. That's quite a showing for Harold Varner III. Emiliano Grillo, he finished tied for 2nd with Varner. And how about Maverick McNeely? He is next, along with Corey Connors and Matt Fitzpatrick. They all finished at -13. And as far as the local contingent is concerned, Russell Henley took the low-scoring honors from the state. 67 yesterday, 11 under for the tournament. Dustin Johnson finished out with a 66. He's at 10 under. You want to shoot the dog?
He's lost his chew toy underneath the sofa. We got to find it for him.
Hello. Nice to have you with us. Have to put his name on the billboard, too.
That would be Finn.
Hey, Finn. Wesley Bryan -8, Lucas Glover -7, and Matthew Neesmith -4. But a terrific job by the folks at Harbortown to get the people in and out, and everything went smoothly. And now, here in our state, of course, we still have 2 more PGA events to go. The PGA itself in May, and then what are we calling it? The South Carolina Open, I think. The tournament at Congaree, at the Congaree Country Club or golf course, whatever it is down in the Bluffton, Ridgeland, Savannah area down there. The one that was going to be the Canadian Open moving to South Carolina. I think they're calling it the South Carolina Opener. Something like, what do you got, Pat? What are they calling that thing?
I think it's the Palmetto Championship at Congaree.
Palmetto Championship at Congaree. Well, I was close. At least I got Congaree right. So we got those 2 huge events coming up. We'll have to lean on George Bryan to get us some details on that championship at Congaree. I know nothing about the Congaree course. Couldn't even tell you how to get there. You ever ridden by there, Bergie? You ever seen it?
I have not. I can say one thing about the remaining 2 events here in the state. I'm almost positive the PGA Championship at Kiel at the Ocean Course, the winning score will not be that far under par as we saw at the RBC Heritage. But you talk about the job that Stuart Sink did. How about turning back the clock for him? For those of us old guys, it is really nice to see some of the veterans, and I would say long in the tooth and the gray hairs, but you can't really say that with Stuart, can you? But nonetheless, just a tremendous job by him. And it was such a great story for him to have his family there and his son on the bag. I mean, there were so many things that came together to watch him win over the weekend. I think that's one of those feel-good victories. It may not, shock the tour that Stuart Sink won, but I think it's a really feel-good story that he was able to come back and win his 3rd RBC Heritage, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, 2000 and 2004. And now, how about that? Between 2004 and 2021, 17 years between wins. So that's a great accomplishment. All right, 888-898-2525, our phone number here on Sports Talk. We're going to get to your phone calls after the break. Go ahead and dial us up. And our poll question of the week, which is on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and also on Twitter with USC spring game coming up. And we'll talk about this. What is it that you want to see from the Gamecocks that when you leave Williams-Brice, it's going to make you feel good and confident about the 21 season? We'll tell you what those options are and tell you how people are voting on that. If you haven't voted, go to our website and do so, and we'll be back after the break.
The future of golf is waiting for you at the Players Club. Rain, shine, or after dark, you can enjoy the game of golf anytime at Columbia's Indoor Country Club. The Players Club delivers the most realistic golf experience and offers more than 90 championship courses. Play or practice with the same state-of-the-art full-swing simulators used by Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth. Visit MainCourseSC.com to book a bay and become a player today at the Players Club, part of the Main Course, 1626 Main Street in Columbia.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut of Sports Talk here with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. What words of wisdom do you have for those hitting the water this summer?
Phil, collisions can be prevented easily if every vessel operator fulfills three major responsibilities. One, practice good seamanship. It's the responsibility of every boat or PWC operator to take all necessary action to avoid a collision. Two, keep a proper lookout. Failing to keep a sharp lookout is the most common cause of boating collisions. And finally, maintain a safe speed. Remember, boat safe, boat smart.
Looking for the perfect golf retreat? Championship courses at an affordable rate? Look at Clarkson and Restaurant in Santee, South Carolina, located minutes from 3 championship courses. Clarkson offers customized, affordable golf packages, relaxing rooms, and great food. Visit ClarksonandRestaurant.com to plan your golf retreat. ClarksonandRestaurant.com. Easy to find, hard to leave.
Welcome to Tiny Stories. Today we're with Sonia, who recently won $500 on a scratch-off.
I am such a loser.
I'm so confused.
Ever been to a family reunion?
Not if I can help it.
My dad's family rents a beach house every year. I've always said I can't afford to go.
I am so sorry.
I'm assigned a sleeping bag on the porch with cousins I've never met.
Been there. Even got the t-shirt.
You may be Cousin Tina.
No. You know what? That's it for the South Carolina Education Lottery. Tell your story at tellyourtinystory.com.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network. The Southeastern Institute of Manufacturing and Technology at Florence Darlington Technical College specializes in sophisticated manufacturing services and workforce development training. The SIMT offers rapid prototyping, additive manufacturing, advanced machining, and business incubation services to clients from across the state and nation, plus social media listening services and rentals of conferencing and training spaces. The SIMT also houses an 800-seat auditorium, a conference center that can seat more than 1,200 for dinner or a luncheon, and numerous classroom spaces with state-of-the-art presentation technologies. Visit our website at simt.com or call 866-304-7468 for more information. The SIMT, technology to grow your business.
The lady in black doesn't age. She just gets tougher. And Throwback Weekend is when she likes to remind all the friends, families, drivers, and dreamers just how they got here. Business up front and parties in the back. Over 70 years of history held together with one famous black stripe. Too tough to tame? I guess you'll have to find out. Darlington Throwback Weekend, May 7th through 9th. Get your tickets at darlingtonraceway.com.
South Carolina, just right.
All right, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number Into sports talk for you. Did you know that since 2002, more than $6 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to support South Carolina educational programs? You can learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducation.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. We'll update some notes here in just a little bit. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. So let's go to Mark in Somerville. First caller of the week carries a special honor because you kind of set the bar. You know, you either set the bar real high or you set it real low. Pressure's on you.
Yeah, I was just going to say no pressure on me, is there? I was just going to back up onto what you guys were discussing last about name, image, and likeness, and on your compensation for play from last week. I don't know if that's still doable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I keep thinking about this, and I don't lose sleep over it, but does this open up the window and the door for agents for these guys?
Not necessarily. I don't believe that the rule allows them to do that. In fact, they have to, when they put a deal together, it still has to go through the university in some form. They kind of have to sign off on it, or I don't believe you can do the agent thing when it comes to lining up your sponsors or your advertisers or whoever you're going to be a spokesperson for, or who's going to use your image. I don't believe, Chris, am I right on that? I don't think you can do that in this case.
It's a really good question, Phil, and I'm not real sure, but I think Mark brings up an interesting point. And if it is not the policy, wouldn't you want it to be, though? You're talking about 18, 19-year-old young men and women who really have not gotten into a situation where fundamentally they've had to manage money. Wouldn't you at least want somebody, maybe it's their parents, maybe a better route to go, but in some regards, wouldn't it be better to have someone there to help them manage their money and maybe help them not get taken advantage of, if you will, in this name, image, and likeness? There's so many tentacles to this story. I don't know that we'll ever get to the bottom of it, but I'm not so sure that having an agent involved, if the NCAA is going to allow this, I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing.
Well, and they're associated with the school, so I would hope that the school would think it's in their best interest to pay attention to their brand rather than have the guys going around with the jerseys on that say Chico's bail bonds on the back of them.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be some coordination here. You're right. There's got to be some coordination between the athlete and the sponsor and the school, and there'll be some limitations. Pat, I think, has looked up some information on this. I think part of this whole deal, there are some limitations as to what you can do as the athlete with your name, image, and likeness as far as what you can put on the uniform and stuff like that, right?
That's right. And an article I found here is speaking just about the California state law about this. I do not have Florida's or any of the other states in front of me, but at least in California, which I know they were first, they wrote within what they're calling the Fair Pay to Play Act. The rule also authorizes college athletes in the state to retain agents to help them identify and negotiate for commercial opportunities to use their NILs. Let's see. It does have the limitation that athletes cannot endorse brands that compete directly with any school sponsorships. So, for instance, Trevor Lawrence just signed with Adidas, but he could not have, in theory, done that while in college because Clemson is sponsored by Nike.
But you're saying they can use an agent to help them put a deal together.
That is correct.
In California.
California.
Now, keep in mind, across the country, as states take this up in their legislatures, it's a work in progress as more and more states identify this. But South Carolina, the state of South Carolina, of course, seeking to protect South Carolina and Clemson, and to a lesser degree the other schools, but those two in particular, I mean, they're moving forward on this. I think legislation is already winding its way through the State House, and it'll be law in South Carolina before too much longer, and it'll be happening right here in your own backyard.
Yeah, here's the other thing I'm thinking about, too. Does that lend itself to then collective bargaining and salary caps?
See, we don't know what this is going to lend itself to, because my feeling is this is not going to be the end of what players are going to want in college. As they continue to push the envelope, or people behind them continue to push the envelope as they continue to try to not necessarily unionize, but organize the athletes. So they'd like to, there's a group of them out there who'd like to form a union. And then you are talking about what you're talking about there. So I don't know where this thing's going to go from here.
Yeah, I mean, yes, part of the slippery slope is you got tax implications now. And then if the scholarships are compensation for their play already, are those scholarships going to be taxable or?
Well, to this point, they have not been. They have not been. I think we talked about this last week. I mean, you are a professional when you go to college and you take a scholarship by definition. If you look up the word professional, basically it means getting something in return for your talents and getting a free ride through college. I mean, you're a professional. They just have been able to avoid trying to call these guys professionals, Chris, over all these many decades of college athletics. They've done a nice job of twisting it into the concept of student athlete and not a professional. But by definition, you are a professional. If you go to college, you accept a scholarship. The only true amateurs that are playing college athletics are those in Division III or walk-ons. Walk-ons in Division III because they're playing the sports and they're not getting anything for it.
Excuse me, Phil. Mark brings up the other interesting point about this. The one thing the NCAA has been able to do with the amateur model is be able to make everything fairly equitable with regards to scholarships. If I go to school at Clemson, I'm getting pretty much the same thing that someone who's going to school at Arizona State is getting. However, we open up the NLI where situations where in California they may have different rules with regards to how much money the kids can make versus what South Carolina has versus what Texas has or versus what Florida or New York or whatever the case may be. That is going to be the biggest concern here because if I'm a student athlete in high school or in the transfer portal and I'm thinking, you know what, I want to go make some money. The schools out in California have a situation where I can make a whole lot more money than I can in South Carolina. So I'm going to go to USC in Los Angeles versus USC in Columbia because ultimately I can profit a little bit more while I'm in college out in Los Angeles than I can in Columbia.
Yeah. And that's the thing. How's this going to be fair to a market like Clemson, okay, versus a market like Atlanta, Miami, even Columbia? And I know you got Greenville down the road, but Los Angeles, Chicago, there's going to be certain areas of the country that will have inherent marketing advantages over the schools around here. And man, wait till you hear the outcry from, this will probably never happen to Nick Saban and maybe not even Dabo Swinney or possibly not even Shane Beamer, but wait till you lose a kid that you're in the running for and he chooses to go to UCLA or Southern Cal because, I've got many more marketing opportunities in Hollywood and Los Angeles than I do at the SO Club or in the Vista. It just doesn't match up. So it will be a disadvantage, I'm sure, that a lot of schools are going to have to deal with, those that are out in the, shall we say, the prairie land versus those that are in the big cities. Of course, there's no major college football in New York City itself. Syracuse perhaps can try to spin itself off. Maybe Rutgers, if you want to call Rutgers major college football. I'm not sure. But there is plenty out there in Los Angeles in that area. So, we'll see. Let's see how people react when you lose a kid because he decides to go someplace for the marketing opportunities, Pat.
Just wanted to add, in the background, I've been researching other states. Florida, remember, their law goes into effect July 1st of this year, the start of the new fiscal calendar. And they actually have language written into their new law saying that no post-secondary educational institution may prevent or unduly restrict any collegiate athlete from obtaining professional representation by an athlete agent or attorney engaged for the purpose of securing compensation for the use of her or his name, image, or likeness. So Florida, as well as California, has that written into their law, and it apparently is being written into the federal, which is still going through the Supreme Court right now about whether that will go into law or not.
All right. Well, and thank you for bringing up the question because it's something that is going to be debated even when the law is passed until we see how this works and see who benefits from it and see who's hurt by it. this is something that's going to be talked about for a long, long time. We'll continue with your calls after the break. Plus, a visit from our good friend Bob Ibach. And when Bob visits, you know he comes bearing gifts for you. Stay tuned for that. It has to do with, that's right, Trevor Lawrence. It's coming up.
Hello, Midlands. It's Jay here with the Melting Pot. Here's a few questions we get when people call us. Do we serve only chocolate? No, we serve 4 courses, but you can get just chocolate or 4 courses of chocolate. No, you don't have to sit at a big table with strangers around you, but you can sit at a big table with friends around you. You just need to bring the friends with you. We also specialize in having lots of private booths with real walls between them, so you won't feel like a fish in a plexiglass tank. Come and see us at the Melting Pot, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
When I served in Iraq and Afghanistan, my buddies and I would do anything for each other. That's important whether you're in a firefight or fighting to regain your life. When I came home injured, there are people I can count on, like DAV.
DAV, Disabled American Veterans, stands behind America's veterans to make their transition back home easier with free services and help getting the benefits they've earned. Help us fulfill the promise to our men and women who served. Go to DAV.org to learn more.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The murder case against former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin and the death of George Floyd has gone to the jury. 12 jurors are beginning deliberations in a city on edge against another round of unrest. The Russian military says its airstrike killed about 200 militants in eastern Syria. The head of the Russian military's Reconciliation Center in Syria said Monday that Russian warplanes hit 2 militant hideouts northeast of Palmyra. The official says in a statement carried by Russian news agencies that the air raid killed some 200 militants and destroyed 24 vehicles and about 1,100 pounds of ammunition and explosives. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 123 points. The Nasdaq dropped 137. The S&P lower by 22. Oil up a quarter to 63.38 a barrel. More details at srnnews.com.
Spring is more than pollen season. It also means it's termite season. Palmetto Exterminators offers a free inspection at your home to determine any possible issues. Palmetto Exterminators offers the best termite agreement anywhere, but they do so much more. They offer complete pest control, mosquito control, wildlife trapping and removal, and nobody, I mean nobody, can offer you more peace of mind at your home or business. Now, how do I know that? Well, I never tell you to use someone like Palmetto Exterminators unless I practice what I preach. I've been a customer for 19 years, and they are wonderful. My guy, Ron Byers, and his team over at Palmetto Exterminators, they've looked after my family forever. We have no pest control issues whatsoever. But if we did, all it takes is one phone call, and Palmetto Exterminators will fix it. It's pretty simple. Call Palmetto Exterminators and cross pest control right off your list of concerns. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net, or give my guy Ron a call, 254-5833.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Have you walked around your own home lately? I mean, it is your most valuable financial asset. Have you spotted any cracks in the home's foundation? Now, if you have, don't panic. You call TerraTech instead. Why am I so comfy recommending TerraTech? Well, they check off all the boxes that matter to me. First, they're local. They're family-owned in the Midlands for more than 38 years. More than 10,000 homeowners, just like you and just like me, have trusted TerraTech to restore their homes. TerraTech combines their collective experience of over 150 years of professional service in the foundation repair industry, along with utilizing state-of-the-art products and solutions. TerraTech fixes foundations. They also repair or build retaining walls. They install French drains, and they offer free inspections and repair quotes. They stand by their work, and they can be trusted with protecting your home. And hey, if you don't want to take my word for it, they're also A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Find them online, TerraTechInc.com, or call TerraTech 791-8888.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblue, Chris Berg, and Pat Daniel all together. Glad you're with us. 888-898-2525. More of your calls coming up. Also, just a couple of minutes, we're going to hear from Shane Beamer, USC football coach. We may do that in this half hour. We may hold it over. Mark Kingston, a little bit after 7. He'll be live with us, and we'll go over some baseball stuff here in just a little bit. Chris has been looking at some of the stuff that led to Clemson's demise. We haven't touched on the Tigers' lost weekend in Miami, but if it could go wrong, it went wrong for Clemson baseball, and they're in a bad place right now. We'll talk about that here coming up in just a little bit. We'll have recruiting for you as well, and we'll hear some from Stuart Sink, who picked up his third plaid jacket. I guess they call it the tartan jacket. The third tartan jacket over the weekend. Oh, they call it plaid. No, they call it the plaid jacket, don't they?
It is.
Yeah, the plaid jacket.
Where do you wear those outside of at Harbortown? Would you wear them out
probably
to a nice
don't.
function?
Yeah, you
Like
probably
the green
don't.
jacket?
Yeah. Now the green jacket, but the Harbortown plaid jacket, I think, pretty much resides right there on the grounds of Harbortown. That's where it's probably most recognizable and most comfortable. Now, before we get into all that, let's welcome in our good friend Bob Iback back to Sports Talk. And when you hear Bob's name, besides the fact that he's out there doing something good for somebody, because that's what he does, he also has got gifts for the Sports Talk listener around the state. Bob, good evening. It's good to have you with us once again.
Hey, Phil and Chris and Pat, nice to be with you guys always. And I know we've talked a lot over the years. I was checking in with Nyco Sports before I called you. And we're over $3 million now in just the last 4 or 5 years that we've raised for charities. And I know we've worked together on a number of projects for your South Carolina network there that have impacted people and raised a lot of money. This time we're helping out a great group. I'm very proud to be helping out the Veterans for Veterans, there's a group called the Purple Heart Homes Golden Corner Chapter. And they help out a lot of disabled veterans. They do great work. What they do is they go out and modify or adapt or actually build on existing homes to get some of these veterans ensuring better mobility and comfort in the homes that they have to live in. And what we're doing to help raise monies is going to, I think, excite a lot of Clemson football fans, because this young man, Trevor Lawrence, who's going to be the #1 draft pick, most likely, I think, by the Jacksonville Jaguars, we're doing a full-size Rawlings football, limited edition. Only 2,021 of these footballs will ever be made. They're going to be $99 each, with proceeds helping to go out for the Purple Heart Homes Golden Corner Chapter. Each football comes with an individually numbered certificate of authenticity. They're just $99, and in a moment, I'll let folks know how you can get your hands on something that I think will be a real collector's item, because Trevor Lawrence is going to have one heck of a career in the NFL. I mean, you look at his size at 6'6", 220, what he's done in his college, his 3 years at Clemson. I'll never forget what he pulled off as a freshman coming in there in the middle of the year back in 2019, had that undefeated season, the NCAA title for the Tigers, and then he guided them to that big win, 44-16, and I think Coach Nick Saban still remembers that, because that's the worst beating he's ever had as an Alabama football coach. Now, these footballs, like I mentioned, are only 2,021. They're priced at just $99, and in a moment, I'll give out a toll-free number and a website how you can get yourself something very historic, something I believe will become a cool collectible for years to come for that Tigers fan. What you'll get on the football, on the top panel is an action image of Trevor Lawrence, his statistics. It'll say limited edition. The middle panel has the Clemson helmet logo, stadium history, and championship history for the Tigers. And that third panel's got some really cool, these orange tiger paws. And right in the middle of that, we've got Trevor Lawrence's career highlights and some of the awards that he's won. And 34 wins at quarterback are the most ever by a Clemson Tiger quarterback. So it's a really cool item to salute this young man's great career, and I'm sure he'll be one of the better NFL quarterbacks in years to come. You just have to believe that this guy's got it all. He's got the poise. I've watched a lot of quarterbacks in my career covering college football, and I certainly have to say he's going to, among the years I covered it, probably certainly among the top 10 quarterbacks I've ever seen come out of college. So here's how you can go ahead and get that Rawlings football and maybe use it as a Father's Day item, Mother's Day coming up, or anniversary or gift idea. Again, only $99. Toll-free number to call is 1-800-345-2868. That's 1-800-345-2868. Or if you can't get through the phone lines, because I know there's so many fans listening in on your network, go right to the website. You won't get left out. It's NICOsports.com. It's spelled NIKCO sports.com. Or the toll-free number again, 1-800-345-2868. And Phil, Chris, and Pat, I just have to thank you and your great listening audience over the years for all those monies that we've been able to raise. Like I mentioned, we're over $3 million now just the last 4 or 5 years.
That's amazing, and we congratulate you on everything that you've done in bringing this to people all over the country. And I know you've been great to us, and you've been great to other fan bases around the country as you do this. So we're going to talk to you a few more times this week to remind people about this, and we'll continue to push this as well. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night, too.
That sounds like a plan, and you guys have a great evening, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Bob. Bob Ibach from Chicago, one-time PR director for the Chicago Cubs, and a terrific man, and can tell you some stories. So if you missed the number, 800-345-2868. One more time, 800-345-2868, online at NICOsports.com. That's NIKCO sports.com. A once-in-a-generational quarterback and a once-in-a-generational opportunity to have this limited edition of football that if you're a Clemson fan or a football fan in general, maybe you are a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, right, Chris? Because he's going to be a Jag here in a couple of more weeks. You can get the jump on collecting your memorabilia for his NFL career from Clemson.
He said there were 2,021 of those available. They may get sold out before we get done at 8 o'clock. So if you're a Tigers fan, I would not waste any time. Get on that phone number again, 800-345-2868 or NICOsports.com. Phil, I was reading a story. This was written a couple of years ago about Bob at mysundaynews.com. Not real sure where that website is located. But they were talking about him and his fascination with sports, and he actually referenced one of the first memories he had. I'm assuming he was actually there, was Don Larsen's perfect game of the World Series when the Yankees beat the Brooklyn Dodgers. How about that to get your sports memories and sports lifestyle and sports career underway? If that's the first memory you have of a 1956, the only perfect game ever thrown in the World Series, it's a pretty good start, I would think.
Yeah, it means he's pretty old, too. I mean, if he can remember... If he can remember that, that's great. It also means he's kind of getting on up there. But, yeah, he's been around, and he does a great job promoting these various charities and using – and what's wrong with this? They use the sports world and the sports fans to help support these charities. And they've done it with teachers, helping teachers, raising money for teachers in classrooms. And now this particular charity, I think it's great. And you get – for $100, you're getting something that will – last you a lifetime and bring you a lot of great memories about Trevor Lawrence. Speaking of, there was this little dust-up over the weekend about his comments in Sports Illustrated. Now, who was the who was the deep thinker on the internet that decided to take on Trevor Lawrence for saying that he did not play with a chip on his shoulder and somehow took that and twisted it to mean he's not committed to playing football and doing what it takes to be a great quarterback? Which of the great scribes, which of the great internet minds was it that decided to take that and have a hard take? Is that what they call it? A hot take on something like that, so maybe he can get 3 or 4 more clicks from his 15 followers? Who was that?
It's a bad take, Phil. Regardless, it is a bad take. He also went on to say, and this is probably part of where all of this ire, if you will, came out. He told Michael Rosenberg, who wrote the story for Sports Illustrated, he said, quote, "It's not like I need this for my life to be okay." That was part of his quote. He went on to say, "I want to do it because I want to be the best I can be. I want to maximize my potential." Who wouldn't want to? You kind of waste it if you don't. I'm okay with my professional quarterback or my professional baseball player having a life outside of sports. Aren't you? Now, the problem is, and this was actually brought up on Yahoo over the weekend about this whole comment, because I don't mind Trevor actually saying what he means and standing by it. He came back and said, "Look, you're misreading what I said." And that's not my problem. That's a you problem if you misread or misheard what I said. So I've got no problem with what he said. I thought it was a bad take to jump on a guy who played in 2 national championship games, won 40 straight some odd games in high school. I mean, he's a winner everywhere he's been. He'll be a winner, you would think, on down the road, depending on what Jacksonville can put around him. But, I don't have a problem if professional athletes have a life outside of football or basketball or baseball. The problem is he's about to go play for a coach who evidently doesn't have a life outside of football and Urban Meyer. So the question is how that relationship is going to work. But I loved what Trevor had to say, and I'd have even more respect for him coming back and backing it up and not walking back those statements. He said, "No, this is what I meant. This is what I said. And if you heard something different, that's a you problem, not a me problem."
It's a shame he had to come back. I didn't know anything about this little dust up until I saw his tweet where he clarified. And I'm like, then I read his tweets and I'm like, come on, man, you got nothing to apologize for. I mean, you just be you. You've shown people your entire career from your high school days to now what you're all about. And you don't have to explain yourself to whoever it was that created this thing. Maybe it was an ESPN talking head looking to try to, raise their 0.01 rating whenever their show was on. I don't know. Somebody just did something to create something out of nothing, which is what a lot of people, unfortunately, in this line of work do today. Current hosts excluded from that. And it forced him, I guess, to go back on Twitter to try to explain something that he had no reason to explain. So the guy is just he is a wholesome talent who checks all the boxes. And I guess some people just have a hard time with people who have their lives in order. I mean, this guy is a guy, as far as we know, has done everything the right way. Went through high school, no scandals. Went through college, no scandals. Marries his high school sweetheart. Going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Going to be wealthy beyond his dreams, and is driven to go win championships for a lousy franchise. I mean, what more can you ask of a person? Graduated in 3 years at Clemson. I mean, come on. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm sure, sometimes his hair's got snarls in it, or,
Well, he threw an incompletion or two and an interception on occasion. But
he had his moments.
Perfect.
Yeah,
but he's about as close as you could in terms of if you were going to build a quarterback and a character and a person in the lab. Trevor Lawrence is probably what you would try to construct. I think social media, Phil, over the years has also breeded a lot of jealousy, and I think that's what we see. And the other problem is the draft has become such a big, big deal. And when the number 1 pick is so overwhelmingly known, there's nothing for anyone to discuss with regards to Jacksonville. Everybody knows where they're going. So I think that's the problem. We've got to fill time between till the end of this month when the draft finally gets here from the end of the season. I think that's part of the problem as well.
Yeah. There's got to be somebody always digging for something out there, to make their own selves feel like they're important, to try and drive somebody down. I think that's just most unfortunate. Let me hit up a few other notes here, and then we'll do the recruiting report. And then coming up, Mark Kingston and Shane Beamer. We'll have a Gamecock coming up in the next half hour, we'll have a Gamecock half hour for you, and maybe a little bit more. And more Shane Beamer tomorrow night because he's meeting with the media again tomorrow. We did hear from Luke Doty today and Dylan Wanham and Trey Atkins and the backup walk-on quarterback. Is that Connor? Is it what's his first name? Sometimes I don't really get down to the.
His first name is Connor.
Oh, what's his last name?
I'm trying to remember, but he's actually wearing the same number that a former Connor
That's right.
excelled in at South
That's right.
Carolina.
I apologize for not knowing the complete name of every walk-on. And I hope he does well in his career if he gets the chance. But we did hear from Luke Doty, and, he's excited about what they're doing. They all love these offensive players. They all love Marcus Satterfield. They really, really have bought into what he's doing offensively. They think he's an excellent offensive mind. And I think the receiving core is going to surprise some people, which takes us to our poll question of the week here on Sports Talk. And our poll question of the week has to do with the South Carolina spring game coming up on Saturday. And our question is, if you're going to go to the spring game as a Gamecock fan, what do you have to see in the game Saturday to feel good about things? Great quarterback play, receivers open and catching the ball, a great pass rush, tight secondary coverage and plays on the ball, some brilliant play calling, or all of the above. Threw that in at the very end there.
It has to be a wide receivers play, doesn't it? I mean, that was the hindrance last year, and I think that's the biggest question mark. South Carolina is going to be able to run the football. I don't think there's any question about that. And Luke Doty appears to be the guy moving into his second season at USC, but it has to be the wide receiving core, doesn't it?
Well, all of the above, of course, got the number one vote so far, 66%. Receivers, though, if you break it down individually, receivers, folks want to see the receivers get open and make catches, great quarterback play is third right there with tight secondary coverage, a great pass rush, and one other, which let's see, brilliant play calling has not received a vote yet. So, all right, so there you go with that. A few other notes to pass along to you from today, and then we'll get to recruiting here. Baseball polls this week. Collegiate baseball. South Carolina's number 7, in perfect game number 8, Baseball America number 9, D1 baseball 11, and 11 in the coaches poll. In the RPI this week, USC's 11. Upstate is number 2 in the state in the RPI at 39. Clemson is 74. Coastal 85. Wofford 93. College of Charleston 199. Presbyterian 207. Charleston Southern 210. Winthrop 218. The Citadel 257. Tomorrow's game between the Citadel and College of Charleston has been moved to 3 because of an issue with the lights at Riley Park. So make a note of that. Clemson, the number 1 national seed in the NCAA men's soccer tournament. They'll play either Jacksonville or American on May 2nd. Coastal Carolina is also in the tournament. Will face number 5 seed Wake Forest on May the 2nd. On the women's side, Clemson, USC, and Furman were selected. Clemson's a number 14 national seed. Will play either Rutgers or Southeastern Louisiana April 30th. USC plays Montana, and Furman plays Rice. Both of those will be on April the 28th. We mentioned at Founders Park, they're increasing the attendance beginning on Thursday night against Arkansas for the remainder of the season. Attendance will go from 1,938 to 3,350. This is because now you can stay 3 feet apart instead of 6 feet apart. So you can cozy up. Joe Person, covering the Panthers, says Panthers outside linebacker Christian Miller, son of the pastor of Payne, Spring Valley graduate, who opted out last year, does plan to play in 2021. He's citing league sources for that. Braves outfielder Ronald Acuna underwent an MRI today, revealed a mild abdominal strain. He is, like we all are, day to day. And Charleston Southern got a big win over the weekend to close out their spring football season. And they had some players named as players of the week around the Big South. And Miller Braddock is the special teams player of the week. Cody Klein is the defensive player of the week. He had 12 tackles. Caden Jordan, offensive player of the week, had 7 catches and 2 touchdowns. And Matt Williams is the freshman of the week. He had 7 tackles and 2 solo tackles. And also from Presbyterian, senior Keith Pearson, a finalist for the FCS Stats Walter Payton Award. It goes annually to the top offensive player among FCS players. He's had 65 catches, 831 yards, 9 yards a catch for the season, and they beat Drake out in Iowa over the weekend. South Carolina State won as well. Congratulations to Buddy Pugh. And let's see, off the top of my head, Citadel lost at VMI. VMI won the Southern Conference Championship. Who would have thought that? We have anybody else play over the weekend? No Furman, no Wofford, no Newberry.
You got everybody.
Is that everybody? Okay.
I think you got everybody. And Pat looked it up. It was Connor Jordan. Was the
Connor
name we were
Jordan.
searching for? Connor Jordan.
I will never
Walk-on at
forget
USC.
that. Never forget that.
Does wear number 14 though, like a former Connor Shaw.
Yes, he
Wearing
does.
USC.
Yes, he does. To the recruiting report brought to you by Seawells. Okay, another week is here. Another opportunity for you to get out to Seawells, enjoy a terrific lunch buffet Monday through Friday, 11 to 2 for in-house dining. And now that we're down to 3 feet, I mean, you can get a little closer to people at Seawells if you want to. And they do a great job of making sure the food is handled safely and nobody touches it but you when you're ready to eat it. It's a great, relaxed lunch setup for you there at Seawells. And, of course, the very best in the catering business remains to be Seawells for over 70 years. They'll come to you or host your event at their facility on Rosewood Drive. And the number, 803-771-7385. Be sure to let Seawells make your event a memorable experience. Seawells Catering, SC.com is the online location. South Carolina offered defensive end Mason Thomas out of Fort Lauderdale, 6'3", 225. Clayton White saw him on film from an Under Armour camp he went to earlier this month and liked him and offered him. They like him because of his speed. He's an excellent edge rusher. And so they saw that, and his 40-yard dash time is very good. They saw his measurables, and they called and said they saw his camp film, and they wanted to offer him. And he ran a 4.8 in the Under Armour camp, and he's pretty good size. Like I said, 6'3", 225. He's put on about 10 pounds in the last little while. So he's getting bigger, stronger, and faster. Last season, 45 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and 1 interception in just 8 games. USC's his first SEC offer, so that's big. The idea of playing in the SEC does resonate with him. He also has Iowa State, Penn State, Pitt, Boston College, Illinois, Colorado State, East Carolina, Syracuse, Washington State, Western Kentucky, Indiana, and South Dakota. He's got an official to Iowa State June 4th. He cited Syracuse, Illinois, Washington State, East Carolina, Pitt, and Penn State as the others that have been recruiting him hard. Hello, Finn. Good to hear from you. Safety Javonte McClendon of Lakeland, Florida, has set an official with USC for June 12th. He listed the Gamecocks in Miami as 2 of his favorites. He also has Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Cincinnati, and Georgia Tech offers at this point. USC target defensive tackle Felix Hickson of Jackson, Georgia, was offered by Michigan. USC target offensive tackle Ryan Brubaker of Stevens, PA, took a personal visit to Penn State over the weekend. His dad played there. He is scheduled for an official to USC June 11th. He plans to visit Ole Miss for their spring game Saturday. Clemson made the top 15 with defensive end DJ Wasolak of Boonville, Missouri. Also Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, LSU, Arizona State, Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon, Notre Dame, Southern Cal, Miami, Alabama, Auburn, and Texas A&M. He's coming in for Clemson's elite retreat in June. And Hammond offensive tackle Drew Bobo set an official to Virginia June 18th. Athlete DeQuandre Smith of Spring Valley offered by Georgia Southern. Tight end Jake Johnson of Watkinsville, Georgia, who had USC and Clemson offers, committed to LSU. He's the brother of LSU quarterback Max Johnson, the son of the former NFL quarterback Brad Johnson. Basketball, Clemson offered 6'7" Tyler Ringgold of Baton Rouge. Houston, Texas A&M, Ole Miss are some other offers for him. Indiana offered 6'9" Noah Clowney of Dorman. And 6'9" Robert Braswell of Blythewood is transferring from Syracuse to Charlotte. Charlotte also has Clyde Trapp coming from Clemson. Okay, top of the hour break. Mark Kingston coming up on the other side.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. The murder case against former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin in the death of George Floyd has gone to the jury.
In closing statements, defense attorney Eric Nelson said it wasn't a lack of oxygen that killed Floyd.
The drug ingestion, right? The bad heart, the diseased heart, the hypertension.
Prosecutor Steve Slasher told the jury Chauvin had to have known what he was doing to Floyd.
He heard him, but he just didn't listen. He continued to push him down.
Slasher also pointed out it's all on video.
That force for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, that killed George Floyd. He betrayed the badge.
Tape from court TV. Chauvin showed little expression. He took off his mask as his attorney presented his closing statement. I'm Ed Donahue.
The D.C. Chief Medical Examiner is providing new insights into the death of a U.S. Capitol Police officer in the January 6th riot.
Medical Examiner Francisco J. Diaz has ruled Officer Brian Sicknick suffered 2 strokes and died of natural causes the day after he helped to defend the Capitol. The news could affect the charges against 2 men. Both were arrested and charged with assaulting Sicknick. Each faced 9 counts related to the Capitol attack, including the assault on Sicknick and 2 other federal agents with a chemical irritant. Diaz says the autopsy finds no evidence that 42-year-old Sicknick suffered an allergic reaction. Bob Agnew reporting.
Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who's in the 3rd week of a hunger strike while behind bars, was moved to a hospital in another prison after his doctor said he could be near death, according to his lawyer. Navalny was transferred Sunday from a penal colony east of Moscow to a prison hospital in Vladimir, a city 110 miles east of the capital, lawyer Alexei Lipster said after visiting the politician on Monday afternoon. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 123 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
A heart attack? He was 47. What about Janice and the kids? Do they have life insurance?
No. Call SelectQuote now and get the insurance your family needs at a price you can afford.
In minutes, SelectQuote found John, 45, in excellent health, a $500,000 policy for only $29 a month. And his wife Ann, 43, in excellent health, a $500,000 policy for only $21 a month.
At SelectQuote, we comparison shop some of the most trusted insurance companies in America to find you the best rate in minutes. And it's free.
For your free quote, call 1-800-644-1331. That's 1-800-644-1331. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-644-1331.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Police say a former Texas police detective accused of fatally shooting 3 people in Austin on Sunday was captured after a lengthy manhunt.
41-year-old Stephen Broderick was taken into custody with a gun in his waistband, but without incident, according to police, after someone called 911 about a man walking along the interstate. Police also say he knew the 3 victims, but did not elaborate on a motive. The former sheriff's detective resigned from the force last summer after being arrested for the sexual assault of a child. He was out on bond, but the DA had filed a motion on Sunday to revoke it. Elgin High School announced 2 of the 3 victims, Alyssa Broderick and Willie Simmons, were recently enrolled there. I'm Julie Walker.
NASA's experimental helicopter Ingenuity rose into the thin air above the surface of Mars on Monday, achieving the first powered flight by an aircraft on another planet. News and analysis on townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear skies into Tuesday and overnight low dips to 50. Tomorrow, 78-hour high temp with more clouds than sunshine, but no rain. In fact, no rain the entire work week until we get to the weekend. Cooler temps the second half of the week with highs in the upper 60s and lower 70s. I'm Brian Leonard with your on-point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107.
Please press button now. No, number 1.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, Mark Kingston from USC coming up in just a second. But, funny how things happen right around the 7 o'clock hour. First, about 5 minutes before we wrapped up the top of the hour, a player committed to Clemson for basketball. His name is Ben Middlebrooks. He's a 6'10" forward, power forward out of Fort Lauderdale. So he commits to Clemson. And then right at 7 o'clock, USC basketball player A.J. Lawson announced on Twitter that he is putting his name in the draft for a third time, and he is going to sign with an agent, thus ending his career at South Carolina. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. I'd say it was a good, solid career at South Carolina. He did a lot of good things. I mean, he was a very consistent scorer over his 3 years and made some big plays for South Carolina during his time at during his time with the Gamecocks. So he is departing, as are 7 others now. That makes a total of 8 who have left the program since the end of the season. We'll talk more about that coming up. Right now, though, let's go to USC baseball coach Mark Kingston and talk about a Gamecock program that is on fire, because you go down to LSU and you win a series, especially the way they did. It tells you something about the way things are going for the team right now. We have Coach with us live on Sports Talk. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We are doing great, and I got to admit, and I'm sure that Bergie and I and Pat we're not alone in the thinking, when it went to the top of the 7th in game 1 on Saturday, pretty much kind of wrote you off at that point, said, well, it's just not going to be their weekend. And, man, you guys proved the doubters wrong the way you came back and won that thing.
Well, I guess our players are a little more optimistic than you are, Phil. So luckily they were the ones walking to the plate, not you, and they were able to get the job done. In
many, many ways, you cannot believe how lucky you are that's the case. What was the feeling in the dugout when you went out to the top of the 7th in that game 1?
We just have an overall feel within our program that we don't quit. We're not going to give up until the last out is made. And whether you're winning or losing, you've got to keep playing the game. There's no clock. You've heard that in sports for a long time. It's an old cliche, but it's true. In baseball, until that last out is made, whether you're winning or losing, you got to keep playing. And that's what we did. And you need a little good fortune. The hard hits that were right at guys early in the game, all of a sudden started to fall. And that's why you've got to keep playing, because sometimes baseball is a game of luck. And those balls were hit no harder than any other balls we hit in the game. But the fortune started to turn our way, and once it did, we really took advantage of it.
And then in game 2, I mean, what can you say about Will Sanders and the way he just dominated that LSU lineup in game 2 to give you guys a series victory?
Well, he's been like that all year for us. He's one of the better freshman pitchers I've ever had the good fortune of rolling out there. He's just elite talent, elite makeup, works extremely hard, has unbelievable poise. When you draw it up, that's what it looks like. And the most exciting thing is we all know he's just scratching the surface. He's going to put on probably 20, 25 pounds while he's here. That 95-mile-an-hour fastball may turn into 100 to 101. So just excited about what he is now, but even more excited about what he'll be in the future.
So you guys are winning series after series after series, and that's great. And I guess the question is about the Friday night game or the Thursday night game, as the case may be, and trying to get that first game to kind of take a little pressure off of you? Is it, we were talking about this earlier, and obviously you're facing the opponent's number one pitcher. Do you just feel you're running into overpowering pitchers in these Friday night games that are just, taking your lineup apart because they're so good?
It's just a little bit of everything. Obviously, we'd like Thomas to pitch better than he has as of late, and he has. He's shown us great outings throughout the year, but the last few have not been quite up to what he expects of himself. And then on the flip side of that, we're facing major league pitchers. Marceau's another guy from LSU that will be a major league pitcher someday. We faced the Madden kid from Texas. We faced the Vanderbilt guys. I mean, the Tommy Mace, the kid from Florida, is the one game we had that was a really good Friday night offensive output. Another guy that'll be a major leaguer. So you've got to find a way to do a little bit better offensively, and you've got to find a way to score a couple more runs.
Mark Kingston, head baseball coach in South Carolina, joining us tonight on Sports Talk. Coach, this is Chris Bergen. We appreciate the time tonight. Going back to game two of your game one of the doubleheader, game two of the series against LSU, are we overselling how important that game may be on down the road for your baseball team? If you don't come back in the top of the seventh, you lose the series. Perhaps you don't play as well in game three. How big a win do you believe that was for your team?
I think it was a big win. I think we would have played just as well in game three had we won or lost that game. I mean, I really think that's the makeup of this team, and momentum is good and carryover is good, but we had Will Sanders on the mound, and their number three, was still, they're trying to find who their best number three is. So matchup-wise, I felt really good that we would have success in that game. The fact that we won game two obviously just flipped how you feel about the whole weekend, and it'll pay off down the road because it put us at 10-5 leading Baton Rouge in the SEC conference instead of 9-6.
Coach, you've got Arkansas coming in this weekend, number one team in the country. As you start to scout them, how nice is it going to be to maybe see a little bit fuller ballpark? As the university announced today, you're going to be able to have over 3,000 in attendance, and I'm sure every ticket, as you've talked about, will be taken up. But how nice will it be to have a little bit bigger crowd, and what are you expecting to see from what appears to be an awfully good Arkansas team?
Yeah, real excited that there's going to be more Gamecock fans in the ballpark. They've had a really good impact for us so far this year, and I know they've gotten a lot of attention. But now thinking about double the people out there, yelling and screaming for us is just real exciting for myself, for our staff. I know our players are thrilled about it, so I think that's a big thing. And then with Arkansas, obviously it's a top-notch ball club. They're really athletic. Their position players can really play defense, and they can really hit. And they've always been known for having power arms. So we have to play great baseball this weekend, and I think we will.
Mark Kingston, USC baseball coach, with us here on Sports Talk. So Arkansas, you talk about having the really good athletes, and I imagine it starts on the mound. What kind of arms will they throw at you in terms of their starters and their bullpen? Is their pitching real deep?
Yeah, their starters are really good. They've got a transfer in their game three spot, a kid from named Lockhart, a lefty from Houston, and their bullpen is filled with power arms. They've got guys that will run it up there in the high 90s, a lot like we do. So it'll be a really good matchup for both sides. I think we'll be prepared for it because we've played so many great teams this year, and obviously they'll be ready too. So. From a couple years ago, we played Arkansas 7 times, so we know them pretty well in their style. From playing them in the Super Regional and in Hoover a couple years ago, so just think it'll be great baseball.
Yeah, two top 10 teams meeting one another. Like Chris mentioned, more fans, about double the number, maybe a little less than that, but still over 3,000 will be in there, so the atmosphere should be electric. What about the health of your team? Update us on some of the walking wounded. Any guys dealing with anything that might slow them down or hamper them in some way?
Knock on wood, no. At this point, we've been able to stay pretty healthy. Satterfield is dealing with a little bit of a back issue, which is why you haven't seen him play in a little while. But for the most part, I think we're in pretty good shape.
What's your I imagine as far as your third starter is concerned, then for this series, you're going to stick with Sanders at this point. I mean, he's pretty much cemented his spot in the rotation now.
Oh yeah. That's the 3 you saw last couple weeks. That's who you'll see this weekend.
Gotcha. We appreciate the visit. Should be a great Thursday, Friday, Saturday series once again as two of the top teams in the country get together in Columbia. Fans should be excited about that. Even the guys around the third base line area. I tell you what, I mean, they might do some obnoxious things here and there, but it seems like that little dust-up we had a couple of weeks ago there has ignited everybody in the program.
Well, again, I think there's a fine line. You don't want guys to say anything that crosses the line of decency, but heckling is a big part of college sports. Having a rowdy crowd is a big part of sports. All you have to do is think about Duke, North Carolina in basketball. They're not screaming pleasantries at the North Carolina basketball players when they go into Duke. So it's just a part of it. As long as people don't cross the line, I think it makes it that much more exciting.
Have you had any interaction with any of the folks who claim to be part of that group? Have they reached out to you to say, hey, Coach, this is what we're trying to do? Any sort of communication from your end directly with them?
Not directly, a little bit indirectly, but, at some point I'd love to just reach out to them and let them know we appreciate, the support they're giving us, no question.
You ever just thought about maybe, half hour before game time, just walking over there, jumping in the stands, letting them slap you on the back, that sort of thing?
Half hour before the game, probably not. Maybe we'll invite them out for a practice or something. They can take some BP with us.
Throw a high hard one in there. All right. Let them know what it's like. Just sit in
we'll
there.
Let them see how hard it really is.
Yeah. Hey, we thank you as always. Going to be a great week of baseball in Columbia with this, and best of luck. We'll talk to you again.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Mark Kingston, USC baseball coach. So, Bergie, things are looking good. I mean, they're winning series in the SEC. They're only a game out of the overall lead in the SEC. They're in the SEC East, of course. They're behind Vandy 11-4, tied with Tennessee at 10-5. Arkansas is 11-4 in the West. Mississippi's 10-5. Mississippi State, rather, 10-5. But boy, I tell you, this gauntlet that they are running schedule-wise now, after say what you will about LSU, they're not having a great year, but they're still LSU. But before that, of course, you had Florida and you had Georgia, Missouri, okay, at home. But now you get Arkansas, ranked number 1. You get Ole Miss, ranked number 10. You get Mississippi State, ranked number 4. Those are your next 9 SEC games. You knew it was coming, and it sounds like they're ready for it. They're healthy. They're confident. He's got the rotation now set the way Sanders has emerged as the number 3 starter. I think they're right where they wanted to be at this stage of the season.
I would agree. He said after the win on Sunday or Saturday, the doubleheader, he said, we take every game one at a time. It's typical coach's cliche, but they are 10-5, as you pointed out. Had you told him before the season began at the midway point in SEC play, they'd be a game back of Vanderbilt and be 10-5 in the league, I think he would have signed up for that immediately. But the SEC is really good about thumping its chest about how good its football is or how good its baseball is. Really hard to argue about it this year, though. The SEC is far and away the best baseball conference in the country, and South Carolina is about to see that. The funny thing is we don't look at it from the other side of the coin. Gamecocks ranked inside the top 10 as well. But you get Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and then before the season is done, you've got to face Tennessee, which could be a critically important series at the tail end of the season. Gamecocks are going to find out. That's why the LSU series was so important for them. They could not afford to have dropped that series with what is forthcoming. But you wonder if in the back of his mind, if Mark Kingston has thought about flip-flopping, you wouldn't want to do it on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday deal, but possibly moving Will Sanders a little bit further up just to give maybe Thomas Farr a different look, let him pitch Saturday or Sunday, and see what Will Sanders could do against top-flight number 1 pitching on the other side of the coin, because that kid has been lights out for them on Sunday when they run him to the mound. As Mark Kingston pointed out, he wasn't concerned. Even had they lost game 2 of the doubleheader, he felt like they were going to win game 3 because of what Will Sanders has done. And really hard to argue with what he's been able to do over the last several ball games.
All right, thanks to Mark Kingston for being with us here tonight on Sports Talk. Should be a great series in Columbia between Arkansas and South Carolina. Gamecocks trying to further enhance their positioning in the SEC. And, with the announcements coming out sooner from the NCAA Baseball Committee on regional sites, every win now for these teams in the running for those is very, very important. We'll be right back after the break.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit PlayResponsiblySC.com.
Hey folks, mortgage rates have dipped to their lowest levels in recent history, and with home values up in many areas, now may be the perfect time to refinance your home. Whether you're looking to lower your monthly payments, free up cash for home improvements, or just pay off your home faster, a quick call to the one and only Stuart Wingo of Ameris Bank could save you money. If you're looking for competitive rates and exceptional service, call Stuart Wingo, 803-319-1777. That's 803-319-1777. You will save money just like I have so many times over the years. You can also visit him, amerisbank.com/Stuart Wingo. Stuart Wingo, the man with the plan for all your mortgage needs.
Enjoy life to the fullest with tasty peanuts that pack a lot of flavor. When it comes to eating peanuts, the research is clear. Peanuts improve your health. Peanuts, a snack that gives back. Crack some open today for a nutritious, sustainable, and earth-friendly treat. Be sure to stop by your local grocery store produce section to pick up a bag of roasted in-shell peanuts. Brought to you by the South Carolina Peanut Board. Visit aboutpeanuts.com for delicious peanut-based recipes.
If you're looking for a great weekend escape, make for Santee, South Carolina and Clark's Inn and Restaurant. Santee provides the perfect backdrop for recreation and adventure. Clark's provides the perfect backdrop for relaxation. Just minutes from Santee Cooper Lakes and 3 championship golf courses, Clark's Inn and Restaurant is a short drive from wherever you are in the Palmetto State. Since 1946, the Clark's Hospitality has been making Santee easy to find, but hard to leave. Visit ClarksInnandRestaurant.com today.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
There are many things to like about the Carolinas, and one of those is Founders Federal Credit Union Founders Online, the Founders app. And using your Founders cards and digital wallets are just some of the perks you'll have at your fingertips. And with over 30 locations, we're always closed. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or visit one of our office locations to see if you qualify for membership with Founders. Relax with Founders. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
The lady in black doesn't age, she just gets older. And Throwback Weekend is when she likes to remind all the friends, families, drivers, and dreamers just how they got here. Business up front and parties in the back. Over 70 years of history held together with one famous black stripe. Too tough to tame? I guess you'll have to find out. Darlington Throwback Weekend, May 7th through 9th. Get your tickets at darlingtonraceway.com. South Carolina, just right.
Thanks again to Mark Kingston for being with us here on Sports Talk. Beautiful, beautiful weekend behind us here in South Carolina. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got down to the beach, and I hope if you did that you talked to Jimmy Smith at James Smith Realty and let him take care of your needs as far as a great place to stay, whether it's for the weekend or a week. Give Jimmy Smith a call. Think ahead. You know, vacation days are coming up. The beach is calling you. The sand between your toes. What a great feeling. Not to mention all the golf courses, the great restaurants. Things are kind of opening up. We're getting back to normal. Wear your mask. And Jimmy is the man to call to take care of your needs, okay? James Smith Realty, 843-237-4246, 843-237-4246, Paulie's vacationrentals.com, Paulie's vacationrentals.com for a great, perfect beach getaway. And if you want to buy some property, you know, if you've got untold millions in your bank account, like Berkey, give them a call, 843-237-4246. James Smith Realty. He'll be happy to help you buy some property so you can make it a lifetime adventure down there along the beach. You know, I say wear your mask. I mean, look, I'm not sitting here telling you what to do. But Berkey, funny story. I don't imagine that Smitty will mind me sharing this story. He went to L.A. over the weekend for a wedding. He's flying back. It was a quick weekend. He's already dog tired. He's flying back, leaving LAX, and I don't know if they had pulled away from the gate or just what, but a person on the plane refused to put their mask on. And they had to go back to the gate and, I'm assuming, escort this person off, had to refuel the plane because it used up a certain amount of fuel, I guess. They have only, I guess they're specific as to how much fuel, and it was a nonstop flight. So, they weren't going to come up a gallon short, and they had to go back. He said it cost them over an hour in delaying them getting out of Los Angeles. But, I mean, come on. I mean, seriously.
Have you flown, Phil, have you flown since the pandemic?
Yes. Yes, I have.
I understand why the airlines have to take the strong stance that they do, but boy, is it uncomfortable to fly now as opposed to the way it was prior to the pandemic. And I, I've done both, and forget what you have to deal with TSA. I'll take that anytime over having to wear a mask in an airplane for 2. I can't imagine for 4, almost 5 hours, because that length of flight cross country is going to be about that long.
Well, I look at it like this, think about the greater good. You're an individual. You're thinking about yourself. But what about the greater good? You are upsetting a plane full of people. You're throwing a lot of people off their schedule. You're only being asked to wear a mask, which, is for everybody's protection, like it or not. And if the mask becomes uncomfortable, you can pull it off for a little bit and just pull it down and let yourself relax a little bit, then put it back up. Go to sleep. Put your earbuds in, whatever. But to hold up a plane for over an hour, there's no excuse for that.
Well, and here's the part I have a problem with. You knew this going on to the plane.
That's right.
This is not this is not something that the airline just said once you got on the plane. Oh, by the way, you need to wear a mask the entire flight. You know this going on. So if you don't want to deal with that, find another way to, take your transportation. I get it. If you're flying from Los Angeles to Charlotte, you probably don't want to drive, but you knew this going in. So I've got no sympathy for the person they had to take off the plane, because that should not have been a surprise.
Update some golf tournaments here real quick. Big South Men's Championship taking place in 96 at the Patriot. Remember, don't lose your temper and try and swing at their tee markers. You will lose. Charleston Southern is in third, only 5 shots behind Campbell. This is after 2 rounds. So Charleston Southern's -5. Campbell is 10 under. Winthrop is in 6th place at +8. PC is +9, and Upstate is +14. The Southern Conference Women's Tournament taking place in Kiowa. Furman is +12 in 3rd place, 5 shots back of East Tennessee. This is after 2 rounds. And Wofford is in 7th place at +42, 34 back, and the Citadel in 9th place at +63, 55 shots back. The Southern Conference Men's Championship taking place in Greensboro. Furman is 3rd, +6, 19 back of East Tennessee State, -13. Wofford is 4th at +10. And we have one more for you. The Sun Belt Women's Tournament being played in Daytona Beach. Coastal Carolina is your leader, 14 under par, 8 shots ahead of Texas State after 2 rounds. Okay. Let's see. We got time for a phone call. Lou in James Island. Squeeze you in. We'll hold you over. Lou, welcome to Sports Talk. How are you tonight?
Phil, I'm doing great, and I want to commend Mr. Bergen on what he said. And I go through this every day. I work for a furniture company in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, Stuckey Furniture, family-owned business for 90 years. And we have people, the Mount Pleasant ordinance is still in effect. but we've got it posted on the doors. But to me, it's flaunting. And I will go be the hall monitor in our store and politely give them a mask.
Yep.
But it's just that's disrespectful. And I mean, hey, listen, we're all in this thing together, and I'm trying to protect you. You're trying to protect me. I hope both of you got your shot.
I got one of them. I got at least one more to go, maybe two, from what I hear.
Oh, easy now! Don't say that. I'm
Well,
with Hank Campbell over here in James Island. He gets mad.
Oh,
But yeah, the big Hank.
You mean the thumper, Hank Campbell?
Yeah, he's back in town.
Hold that thought, Lou, if you don't mind. We'll come back to you after break if you're hang on, and then we'll bring you some Shane Beamer here on Sports Talk. We'll be back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear skies into Tuesday and overnight low dips to 50. Tomorrow, 78-hour high temp with more clouds than sunshine, but no rain. In fact, no rain the entire work week until we get to the weekend. Cooler temps the second half of the week with highs in the upper 60s and lower 70s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hi, this is Jennifer Coolidge. The American Heart Association says the disco song Stayin' Alive is the near-perfect beat for hands-only CPR. If you see a teen or adult collapse from cardiac arrest, you only need 2 steps to help save a life. Call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest to the beat of the song Stayin' Alive. Disco is back and it's saving lives. To learn more, go to heart.org/hands-only-CPR.
Nationally supported by the WellPoint Foundation.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The nation's largest coal miners union said it would accept President Joe Biden's plan to move away from coal and other fossil fuels in exchange for a true energy transition that includes thousands of jobs in renewable energy and spending on technology to make coal cleaner. The president of the United Mine Workers of America, Cecil Roberts, says ensuring jobs for displaced coal workers is crucial to any infrastructure bill taken up by Congress. At least 7,000 coal workers lost their jobs last year amid continued declines in the industry. On Wall Street, a down day as the Dow dropped 123 points to close at 34,077. The NASDAQ Composite Index dropped 137. The S&P 500 lower by 22. And crude oil up a quarter to 63.38 a barrel. This is SRN News.
What's this truck pulling up in our driveway?
It's the folks from Dominion Energy. They're here to recycle our old fridge in the garage.
Why?
Because it's just sitting there wasting energy and we can use the extra space, not to mention the extra cash.
Extra cash?
Yes, we get $50 cash and pickup is free.
Sounds too good to be true.
See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
One thing you hear on The Point all day long, it's be intentional. You hear it from our local and national hosts, and I practice what I preach. So when it comes to my biggest financial investment, my home, well, I'm pretty intentional. I had Allstate Seamless Gutter come out, and they fixed me up. Think about this. You spend between, $800, $1,500 on gutters for your house. That's an intentional investment. It protects your home against so many things that can cost thousands and thousands of dollars later on. Things like mold damage or foundation repairs. And while we're talking about being intentional, when Doug and his team came out, did the job on my home, well, we partnered up to help save you some money. If you call 833-5GUTTER, tell them you want that point discount, that's 40% off your gutters. Make an intentional decision about your home. Protect your biggest financial investment. They do great work. And I won't endorse Allstate Seamless Gutter if I didn't have them come out and do the work on my own home. Peace of mind and new gutters at a great price. That's being intentional. Allstate Seamless Gutter, 833-5GUTTER. That's 833-5GUTTER.
Hey, honey, I meant to ask you, how was your delivery from True Pharmacy?
I am loving True Pharmacy. They made the transfer process so easy. They delivered my prescriptions the same day for the same price, all without the long wait.
Wow, that is truly amazing.
And when their technician dropped off my prescription, he told me about some of their other services.
Oh, yeah, I saw that they also do COVID testing and immunizations on site.
Same-day deliveries, same price, and fast-friendly service. I think we found our True Pharmacy home.
True Pharmacy on Divine Street in West Columbia. Find us at TrueRxSC.com.
Leandro Orlego shotgun easy into his left-hand side. And they're going to play action, looking to the end zone. Touchdown, Davis Allen.
Hey, Tiger fans, it's time to reserve your 2021 Clemson football season tickets and come back home to Clemson. For details and more information, please visit clemsontigers.com/football tickets. The season ticket request deadline is April 30th, so be sure and act soon and see your Tigers in the Valley this fall. Come back home to Clemson.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
All right, let's get back to Lou, and then we're going to hear from Shane Beamer coming up. Lou, brought to you by Stuckey Furniture. That'll be $10 for the free plug there, Lou.
Phil, hey, listen, you just come here and pick out what you want anytime, and Bergen knows he can. He's been there before, I believe me. But I'll tell you something else. But yeah, it is nice. Me and Hank have been friends for many years, and he just got kind of back in town this year, and so I'm getting to spend more time with him. James Island's a nice place to live and everything. So I'll chat with Bergen later. But while I got Mr. Campbell, I'll let you say hey to him. He's helping. He's doing the right thing. He's helping his mother do some exercise. He'll be right with you.
Okay.
But Phil, let me ask you, Chris, how's the PC program doing now?
Wow. I have not followed them. I have not followed them, Lou, as closely as I once did, having not been in the upstate for a while. But dropping down to FCS with a non-scholarship, it's going to be a struggle. But as Phil pointed out, picked up a nice win to wrap up the spring season over Drake. If anybody can turn that program around and get it going in the right direction, considering the obstacles they're facing now with no scholarships at the FCS level, it's going to be Tommy Spangler.
They had a
in our state.
They had a winning season here in the spring. They had a very good season. I'll pull up their schedule here real quick, but
all right. While you pull it up, I'll give you Mr. Campbell.
Okay.
Here.
Who can forget? 4-3. 4-3 was their final record, and they won their last three. They beat Stetson, Davidson, and Drake to finish 4-3. Is this Mr. Campbell? Is this Hank?
Yeah, here's Hank. Yeah.
Okay, good. We'll say hello to Hank Campbell.
Hello?
Hank?
Yes.
Hey, you're on Sports Talk across South Carolina. Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen and Pat Daniel. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
We're doing great. When's the last time you were interviewed?
It's been a while. I actually don't even know, to be honest with you. Probably when I try to apply for a head job somewhere, most likely.
And Lou just says, hey, man, I'm putting this phone in your hand, and you're going to talk to these guys. What have you been doing over the last few years?
I've been out in Oklahoma and Arkansas, coached out there. I left Colleton County, I think about 2013, 14, and went out to Oklahoma and took a job out there coaching at Langston University, and then went off to I started off at Langston with the Bacone and Southwest Oklahoma State, jumped around, met up with Coach Wilson, Rich Wilson, who used to be at Clemson, who's the head coach at Arkansas Baptist, coached there for a little bit, and now I'm back here in Charleston, so high school in Charleston County, so pretty good. Gets closer to home, and my mom's here, so it's all good, all as well.
That's good. Which school in Charleston County are you going to be working with?
With St. John's High School. I'll be my second year coming up this year. We finished up last season, with the short COVID season, not as well as we would like to have been, but being 2-4, but making some strides. It's kind of difficult for us, but definitely trying to get better and work to the pinnacle.
What are you coaching there at St. John's? What position?
I am the DC and coaching the linebackers and working with the secondary also a little bit, but we may do a little shuffling, but right now I'm just running DC and coaching in the back end and with the linebackers.
Yeah. So when you run into Gamecock fans, how many of them come up to you and say, "Man, I was there that night against Tennessee and remember that play"? Do you hear that like every time you run into one of them?
It does happen. Matter of fact, I was in Lowe's the other day with my wife, Dawn, and it was, we were looking for some things, and anyway, the guy was like, she had a Carolina shirt on, and anyway, how that conversation goes, like, oh, that's my favorite, on my alma mater. I was like, oh, well, I went there too. And I said I graduated in '95, and played football, a little football there also. And he asked my name, and he was like, oh my goodness. So it was, it's a humbling feeling, so just to have somebody and, people appreciate, some of the work that you put in.
Absolutely. Hey, that's a play that, the Clowney play obviously is probably number one on the hit parade, so to speak, on the defensive side. But, yours is right there, right behind it. So coaching in South Carolina now, and with the new coaching staff, have you had a chance to hear from Shane Beamer or any of the assistants, talk with them? Have they picked your brain any at all about the past at South Carolina and welcoming you guys back into the program, so to speak?
I haven't talked directly with any coaches on the staff, and that's not, because they're not reaching out. They've got their hands full doing, what they do. But, we've gotten I've at least received email as far as a Roost roundup and some things they're doing as far as reaching out to some of the alum and, and lettermen. So it's, I get information, and, looks like they're, trying to do the right thing. And, it's, and looking forward to going to the spring game, this Saturday.
Yeah.
Hopefully maybe, crossing, paths with some of the coaches there. Matter of fact, Marcus Satterfield, who he was he's a wide receiver at East Tennessee State when I was coaching there from 97 to 99 up there with Paul Hamilton. So, and, obviously Chadwell was on that team too. So it's kind of neat to see those guys go on and do great things.
Small world, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Phil, I think Hank would be a perfect guy to ask the poll question. He'd be an expert here. We could ask him what he's hoping for to see out of USC at the spring game this season, whether it be the quarterback play, wide receiving play. Hank, when you look at the team going into the spring game, what will give you the most confidence about them moving into the fall? What would you like to see them score a bunch of points, defense, which you were really good at playing, have several turnovers? What has to happen Saturday to make you feel a little more comfortable about Carolina going into the fall?
Just coming out of there healthy, really, to be honest with you, because as well as the spring game, it's scripted. It's scripted. For if anybody didn't know, pro wrestling is scripted, and so it's biggest thing is you want to get out there healthy and and have some positive on offense and defense. The way I look at it, so that's we play in a tough conference, and we gotta do some building. So it's it's going to be like I said, just get out of there healthy and just have some a lot of positive and momentum going forward. But I think we got the right staff in place and a lot of young energy up there. So it's excited about it. Excited about Beaver ball down south.
Yeah, you talk about the energy. It's been nothing but positive stuff coming out of the program from all the coaches. Really, I think they came in believing that these guys needed to be lifted up. Whether it's accurate or not remains to be seen, but they needed to be built up in the public eye and told how hard they're working and how not necessarily how good they are, but just how energetic they are and the effort they're putting into it. You think that's important from a player standpoint to hear nothing but positive stuff coming from a coaching staff? And I'm talking top to bottom, from the head coach all the way through your trainers. Anybody who's talking over there is saying nothing but positive stuff. As a former player, now as a coach, is that helpful in helping a team that is coming off a 2-win season to forget that and get over that hump?
I believe positive reinforcement is the best way to go about things. Because you have to break the players down also, but then you have to build them back up. But I think positive reinforcement is definitely the best way to go, because if you keep feeding it into the mindset, then they may believe it. So obviously, and I'm talking from a positive and a negative standpoint. So if you're breathing positive energy, and you breathe in positive energy, it feeds off each other. So then if you're breathing negative energy, it's the same thing. It could be negative and it could be detrimental to the team.
Yeah. Well, listen, I hate to always use this as an example, but when Dabo Swinney took over at Clemson, that's all he had was his mouth. And, he kept building and building them up and building them up. And eventually you start believing that stuff and people come on board. So we'll see how that works. But it's been great talking to you. Tell Lou I appreciate it. I'm coming down to buy a Barco Lounger from him. And
okay,
we appreciate it. Hope to see you sometime soon. And best of luck to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Great having you. Just stumbling into an interview with the former Gamecock standout, Hank Campbell. How cool is that? Thank you, Lou Avant. And let's send everybody down to Stuckey's Furniture. It's Stuckey's, right? Isn't that the name of it, Bergie?
Yes.
Stuckey's Furniture in Charleston, and buy a Barco Lounger or what else? A love seat from Lou. Great guy.
Kitchenette.
Appreciate that. Let's speaking of positivity, here is some Shane Beamer from the scrimmage on Saturday, major scrimmage number 2. And here's what he had to say in reflecting on that with the media on Saturday.
Good scrimmage this morning. Good to see some people out there. I know Alshon Jeffrey was over there. It was great to see Alshon. I'm not sure about other former players. Director Fink here runs a tight ship, so I was rushed off the field as soon as the scrimmage was over to make sure I wasn't late for the press conference. But it was great to see Alshon, his second time over here this week. He was over here earlier this week as well, spending some time with us. So love seeing him and some of the other former players, I think, that were out there today. Injury-wise, we got out pretty healthy, nothing major. Sherrod Green, Mo Kaba, and Ortre were the only guys that, have been healthy that weren't able to go today. They've got some things that nothing serious, nothing that'll keep them out, long at all, but just had some minor things that we held those guys out today. And then we had a couple guys, just a couple nicks, during the scrimmage, but nothing major. So knock on wood, we've been pretty healthy here this spring, and hopefully we can continue to. Saw some good things out there today. It's been a great week of practice. So we practiced Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday this week, and I feel like we've had our best week of spring these 3 days. Just the competitive spirit and the energy out there all week long has been awesome. The offense had a great day on Tuesday. Defense sat around for 2 days and heard about it and stewed on that. And they came out on Thursday and had a great competitive practice, and both sides did on Thursday. And then saw a lot of physicality out there this morning. Obviously in these things, there's some good you see offensively, and if it's good offensively, it's bad defensively, and vice versa. And in the first 24 plays of the scrimmage, the defense caused 3 turnovers, which that's great from a defensive standpoint. That's more than they had the entire practice on Thursday, and they did it in the first 24 plays, an interception and 2 fumbles, if I'm not mistaken. On the other hand, offensively, we can't do that, turn the ball over. That's how we get beat. We talk about not beating ourselves, and that's beating ourselves. Disappointing start overall. I felt like the initial series that we had, first group offense versus first group defense, we had some pre-snap penalties, a penalty on offense pre-snap. We had 2 offsides penalties on defense on one series, and those are the things that get you beat. And we got to get that cleaned up. But the effort they played with was awesome. The physicality they played with was awesome. The energy, for the most part, out there was good. And the conclusion to a great week. And now we got to get ready for a big week coming up, culminating with the spring game on Saturday. And excited for that. So with that, be glad to answer any questions.
David has the first one.
Hey, Shane, thanks for doing this. You've obviously been a part of a lot of spring practices, a lot of spring games, and maybe at some other locations where they maybe had a little more answered about the roster than what you're taking over. What was the approach for those final weeks of spring practice where you were, and what's the approach now? Is there a huge difference between the two?
Not really. I mean, you're constantly trying to evaluate your personnel and get better. And we're 2/3 of the way done with spring practice right now, and got a pretty good feel for where we are. Other places I've been, you're going into that last week, trying to continue to get better. There's some situational things that we're going to continue to address. Today we did, red zone, we did short yardage, we did goal line, we did 2 minutes. This week we're getting into some coming out situations from a football standpoint. We're backed up on our 2-yard line offensively, and we're trying to get out of our own end zone. The defense is trying to stop us. We're going to get into what we call a 4-minute situation where we're winning at the end of the game, and we're trying to get some first downs to win the game. And so there's a lot to accomplish this week from a situational standpoint, but then we've also got to continue to evaluate personnel and figuring out some guys. Can they help us? Can they not help us? And if they can, where? So that'll be a big point of emphasis this week. And we got a ways to go. I mean, we did some good things, but there's a ways to go, and hoping to get some of these guys that have been out, getting them back to be able to do some things. Jalen Dickerson, he was able to get out and do a little bit in practice this week. So that was great to see him back out there and running around. And we got to get Sherrod healthy. We got to get Mo healthy and got to get Ortre healthy and some other guys to get them work, because all of us need work. And that's no different than anywhere that I've been. But you're right. It is. There's a lot of unknowns about our roster, being a new staff coming in, but then you combine that with a lot of those guys that haven't been able to participate this spring to the full extent.
Dick Cox.
Hi, Shane. Last week you were concerned after the scrimmage about not being able to throw the football down the field like you would like to. Were you able to see any improvements on throwing it down the field today?
Not today. Got to get better there. I think we can run the ball pretty well. We can certainly throw the ball, but not nearly enough explosive plays, in my opinion. I mean, give credit to the defense for that as well, but we've got to be able – it's not just the quarterbacks and the receivers. We got to protect. We're facing some pretty dang good pass rushers on the defensive line and in our front seven, and that's making our offensive line better. So we've certainly got to protect, and then we've got to, execute and being able to convert on those. We had some guys open today. We just got to, convert on it, and that'll come with reps also.
Bill.
How did y'all split up the quarterback reps today? Was it mostly Luke with the first team again, or was it a little bit?
Luke primarily with the first team, and we had talked about getting a couple of those other guys some work with the first group, but Luke got the majority of the reps with the first team, and then those other guys mixed in there. We did some 7-on-7 pass skill work at the beginning of practice before the scrimmage, so those guys were able to get some throws in during that standpoint as well. But yeah, Luke continues to work with the ones and is doing a good job.
Josh Kendall.
Hey, Shane. I'm curious as to your perspective on the eternal fan question of why don't you throw to the tight end more? I mean, as a tight end guy or a history with tight ends, what do you think of that question?
I think it's universal.
Right.
Anywhere I've ever coached, they always want to know why you don't throw to the tight end, and that's Georgia. That's they said they're asking the same thing in Athens. They're asking the same thing when I was at Virginia Tech, probably in different places, and I think that's just kind of a universal answer. I don't know what the strategy was here in the past. I really don't care. We're going to utilize the tight ends here. There's some pretty high-profile tight ends that we're recruiting here at South Carolina that, we have been as clear as day about what we're doing with our tight ends in practice and being able to show those guys these are the routes that our tight ends run. These are the things that we ask of our tight ends. These are the catches that the tight ends have made in practice. And a lot of schools can talk about what they're going to do with the tight end. I mean, our plan is to utilize those guys as much as possible. And I was at a place last season where, before we had some injuries, I think 3 of our tight ends that I was coaching at Oklahoma, about halfway through the season at Oklahoma, 3 of those 5 were like our leading receivers at the time. So I love that position. We've got some guys that can certainly produce, but again, it's up to them. I mean, we ain't going to throw the tight ends if they don't know how to line up. We're not going to throw the tight ends if they're not going to be physical and blocking the run game. We're not going to throw to the tight ends if they can't pass protect. We're not going to throw the tight ends if, they're not being dependable on and off the field. And I'm not saying that, but, it's more to it than just throw the tight ends. I got to know what the heck to do, too. And we're competing at every single position. And I'm not going to have anybody catching balls out there that doesn't play with the physical toughness that we need them to play with. So, our guys at tight end need to do that, continue to do that better. And they produce, they'll get balls. That's what happened at Oklahoma. They were physical. They competed their butts off. We ran the ball so well that it opened up a lot of things in the passing game for those tight ends. And hopefully we can do that here at South Carolina.
It feels like the NFL last few years, we have seen that position emphasized more. If you think that that's accurate, have you seen an impact on college game plans and even on recruiting in terms of guys who might want to get into a tight end pipeline?
Yeah, because I think so many tight ends now they're glorified receivers. The year before I got to Oklahoma, Mark Andrews, who's a fantastic tight end now in the NFL. Mark Andrews at Oklahoma won the Mackey Award as the top tight end in the country, and very rarely did he put his hand in the ground in a 3-point stance and play tight end. So a lot of those guys are, glorified receivers that are playing tight end right now. But that also, you've got to have the ability to do that. So certainly I've seen that change because you can do so much with them. If we can take a Nick Muse or a Jaheim Bell and he's lined up at tight end in a 3-point stance one play, but then on the very next play, he's lined up as a wide receiver. And on the very next play, he's lined up in the backfield like as a fullback. Being able to move those guys around, that helps an offense, and it's challenging for the defense. Now, when you've got 2 or 3 guys that you can do that with, and you got 3 tight ends on the field, and are you in a 5 wide receiver set and they're flexed out wide, or are you in a condensed set with 2 tight ends and with their hand on the ground and you're running the ball downhill and throwing play action? So when you have guys like that can do different things and have the skill set to do that, it opens up a lot for you offensively.
Okay, there you go. Shane Beamer, his thoughts following the scrimmage on Saturday. Big concern seems to be the down-the-field passing game and improving Luke Doty in that category. Luke Doty's going to be your starting quarterback as it stands now. And we heard from Luke Doty today. We'll hear from him later in the week. We heard from Luke Doty. We heard from Dylan Wadham. Wadham said today that if all goes well for him, this will be his last year at South Carolina. He plans to move on to the NFL after this season if all goes well. And Doty, they seem to be a little concerned, Chris, about explosive plays down the field right now in the passing game. And you've got to have that to stretch the defense. If not, they're going to load the box and make it hard for Kevin Harris. As hard as he runs and runs over people, I mean, you can't run over 3 of them or 2 of them, whatever the case may be. You got to be able to complete balls down the field to make those safeties back up so they're not running downhill and clogging up those running lanes.
And that's why I mentioned a part of the poll question that you posted today. If I'm a Carolina fan, that is my number one concern. How do we stretch the field moving forward? And the wide receiver is going to have to step up and make some plays because, as you pointed out, Phil, and I think appropriately, if I'm a defensive coach right now and I'm game planning for South Carolina to open the season, I'm stacking 9 in the box and saying, all right, Luke Doty, let's see what you can do. Because Doty right now is a running thrower as well. So until they prove to anybody, and whether or not Saturday will do so, but until they prove to anybody, to me, the downfield explosive plays, getting the wide receivers involved is going to be critically important. However, as we've heard throughout spring camp, they are as high on their tight ends, maybe as they are any other position outside of running back. So maybe the tight ends help them stretch the field a little bit this fall. Who knows?
Yeah, I think the tight ends are just going to be huge for them. They got a bunch of them. And to listen to Eric Kimmery talk, they're all pretty good players. They all bring something. And, of course, you start with a real good one in Nick Muse, and you go from there. So, yeah, I think you're going to see the tight ends be a big part of this offense. Doty's a terrific athlete. He was an Elite 11 quarterback. He's got some passing skills. He threw for a ton of yards in high school, and he's got some passing skills. Of course, when you get to college and people start tinkering with your form and, they start finding flaws in your delivery, it takes a while to get it the way they want it. And we'll see. We'll see if he has it in him. Speaking of Elite 11, over the weekend, Clemson commitment in the 22 class, Cade Klubnik out of Austin, Texas. He qualified for the Elite 11 finals. So he'll be going to, I think, California. I think that's where they're having it. That's where they've had in the past. I think that's where they're going. He'll compete for that. And so that just shows that Clemson's got another one coming down the pike. Might not be a generational guy. People aren't talking about him in terms of, hey, this guy's going to be, the greatest thing since, DJ Uiagalelei, who was the greatest thing since Trevor Lawrence, who was the greatest thing since Deshaun Watson. Yeah. I mean, eventually your pail runs out of water, and Clemson might be getting down there a little low. And Pat has pointed out to me, and I saw this story too, that the 2 quarterbacks in the incoming class who are also baseball players, Will Taylor and Bubba Chandler, they're ranked 19th and 20th among baseball prospects for the upcoming draft. So let me think now, you're those guys, baseball, sign, get drafted in the top 25. Let's say that happens. or first round, sign for a couple of million, or go sit behind DJ Uyangalele for, well, at least 1 year. No, 2 years, because they would come in the fall. These are guys coming in the fall. So they'd sit behind him this year, sit behind him next year, and then he'd be eligible to go. So I don't know. This could become a real sore subject for Dabo Sweeney and Brandon Streeter, looking at that quarterback room coming up.
You know what could help?
You know what could help those players entice them to come back? Earning money on their name, image, and likeness.
They ain't gonna earn that kind of money. I mean, seriously, you're talking about millions if you're your first round draft pick, dude.
Trevor Lawrence was estimated to make over $2 million a year if he decided to come back next year. He could make money off his.
Yeah, and what's he gonna make with the Jags? Let's start at about $20 million. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Pat. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Local in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Columbia's local talk radio experience. 107 The Point.
MakeThePointRadio.com.
The Point. The Point.
WQX.